Welcome to
Wait! Just wanted to see if you would do it. You're such an idiot.
Welcome to the Drive
Five,
Bones. No!
four.
What are you doing? We're in. We're
Are
live.
you ready?
We're live.
Go.
Welcome to the Drive Bones podcast.
Welcome once again.
This is the result today of us planning on working today and then having a hiccup, which allowed us not to work today. So we said, hey,
Let's do a podcast.
let's do a podcast.
And we don't really have any particular topic to go on,
yeah.
but we kind of landed on one through the chaos that it was to get to this point.
Yes. So,
Not that that sentence made sense.
yeah. So welcome. For those of you who are new to listening to us, my name is Ethan Dow. And
I'm Isaac Levin.
yes.
That's my
I was
name.
gonna
That's me.
introduce you, but
I need no
You do your own
introduction.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm a little
before
bit
we-
excited to I hope I get you stirred up. I hope I get you.
Yeah, the one complaint
Angry.
that I've gotten from like friends and family that know us is that we are not fighting each other enough. Because if anyone has ever known us, grown up with us, when me and Isaac tend to argue with each other, there you go. When we tend to argue with each other, that's usually where most of the entertainment comes from.
That's right.
But we've been talking about a lot of issues that we agree on because when it comes to the Bible, we have pretty similar,
Fairly similar.
fairly similar.
No, that's pretty
Viewpoints.
similar. It's like 99.9%.
Yeah,
similar.
pretty close.
But with recent events that have been
No, we're not there yet.
Oh,
Pause.
we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet. Gosh. First off, we got to get through all the boring stuff that I hate to do.
Who put a question mark on the teleprompter?
We appreciate very much every single one of you that are listening and supporting us that way.
Yes.
One huge thing that you could do for us to help us out is to like us, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, do all those things. Wherever you listen to us, if you guys can subscribe to that. The biggest thing is sharing our posts on social media. That is how people get out there. That is how we reach people.
Sharing is caring.
You might have seen let's see, by the time this comes out, you might have already come across a new post that I posted the other day. That is like a boosted post that we do, but like the more that you guys like that and share that, the more that gets spread, the more people hear about us. And we're not trying to get famous ourselves. We are trying to share Jesus to people. So
Right.
This is our ministry opportunity. So that is our 3 minutes of annoying share us on social media, smash the like button thing that I hate doing, but we
Here it
have
is.
to. So from that, I want to talk about kind of starting off first and foremost.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
just coming off 1 year.
1 year.
How's the first year of marriage?
Miraculous.
Yeah?
It was great. I loved it.
Not
We-
tearing at each other's throats yet?
No, I mean, there was some of that, but I mean, that's in every relationship.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot.
Yeah?
I think we came through a lot. We definitely are closer, and God willing, going to last another 75 years.
Well, let's hope. Well, it's kind of funny because you guys got married right in the middle of the COVID stuff.
Yep.
So, we had to deal with all that. And you also have moved within your first year of marriage
Mm-hmm.
and changed jobs and started a podcast
Yep.
and all that stuff.
Lots
So,
happening.
A lot of stuff
Lots
happening.
happened in 2020, 2021.
Yeah. So, anyway. Well, that's the reason I bring that up. One, I want to let people know that, you've reached that milestone. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
But secondly, I really want to focus on what you did for your anniversary because it's really, I don't know anybody that has done, not saying it hasn't been done, but I don't personally know anyone that's done what you guys did. Most people, myself included, want to spend that time with my significant other. Usually we always plan a big trip. We like to travel a lot, so we always plan a trip with no kids. I feel like that's important. Now, you guys don't have kids, so you don't have that dynamic yet. But we like to get away and like spend time and focus on each other and kind of regroup, and that's great. I support that. That's what I do. But you guys did something really cool and very selfless. And so I know you don't like me talking about you, but I'm going to brag on you a little bit because you guys decided we're going to bring in all of our really close friends and bring them in and cook for them. And not just cook for them, but like really, really cook for them. So we just got done this weekend with like one of the most fantastic culinary days I've ever had in my life.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, that's kind of, I really don't know if it was something like my wife would have done like by herself.
Yeah.
But she knows that I love to do it. And this is her selflessness. She's like, why don't we just have a dinner like you like to do for our anniversary? And I was like, I mean, I would love that. But like, do we need to focus on us? Are we good? Do we need to go? And then it was like, no, let's just celebrate with the people we love.
Yeah.
And so then, yeah, it was fun. We ordered a bunch of ingredients and made sure there was some stuff people had never tried, some new things. And then
It was crazy.
yeah, and then
It was crazy.
yeah, had about 16 people.
All right, we're going to take a quick break real fast.
Sounds good.
All right, sorry, we had some audio issues there we had to fix. I believe we're good now. So, yeah, so kind of talking about that. So what was really cool for me about you guys doing this was that you actually did this for your bachelor party. And we all came in, we cooked food, and we all helped you the whole weekend. You flew in a bunch of crazy food, and we helped you the whole weekend. And it was an awesome time. Like we literally just sat around and ate food all weekend. And so a lot of those same people were here this time. And so that was like built even more excitement because those guys still talk about that. Mm-hmm. Like they'll still, when we hang out with them, they'll be like, oh yeah, man, Isaac's bachelor party was crazy. And it wasn't like any crazy stuff happened. It was just because we ate all these crazy foods and cooked together.
Well, and that kind of forces, well, because I have all these different friends from different walks of life that some of them associate in the same circles and others don't. But you get them all in a room together around some good food and conversations that aren't happening or wouldn't otherwise be happening are now happening because these two that don't know each other and probably disagree politically have to sit together and chop the vegetables. You know,
exactly.
So you create an atmosphere that I don't want to say is contained, but you create an atmosphere that's safe for people to talk about all of those things because they're also busy doing something that is going to benefit the whole group. Like we're all cooking for each other here.
And it didn't get like crazy political. It didn't get crazy whatever. But obviously we all have, there's some varying opinions on certain issues. And people that we knew that like had to, but there was no fighting. There was no arguing. It was just like this. It was like you said. It was like this perfect little space where we could come together. And holy cow, if people could do that more often,
that's what I think. That's what I want all those people to walk away saying is like, well, I don't agree with half the people in that room, but dang it, he was really nice. And that steak was delicious.
Yeah, yeah. And,
and
the food was good.
Well, and I think people do get surprised by that. And I will say, like, I remember you came up to me and you were like, hey, you're handling this very well. I didn't know you might be a little bit stressed or anything. Because I do get stressed about those situations.
You do.
But, like, it sounds even selfish saying it, but it's so rewarding to do those things for all those people. Like, yes, I want them to feel good, but, like, at the end of the day, I know that I was a part of at least satisfying all these people's hunger for now.
Yeah.
But I provided something, and I don't know. It's just I'm rambling now.
Well, no.
It was fun. I love it. I would do it again.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm looking forward to you doing it again. Well, and because it reminds me not to like make it super church. I mean, it's kind of what we're doing here is making it churchy and whatnot. But it does remind me of the Acts church, and like the first church. What they did was they came together and they broke bread together, and it creates this environment that's amazing.
My brother-in-law calls it the lost art of Christian hospitality.
Really?
Like that's kind of what it is.
Well,
like
because what we do is we tend to be like, oh, hey,
we tend to stay in our circles.
John and Jane over here, who we go to church with every Sunday, we all go do the same things. We all love the same things. We vote for the same things. We stand for the same things. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have them over, and like that's great. We all have those friends, but to me, there's something more important about this, and it's this hospitality. It's like look at Jesus' life. Mm-hmm. Like he brought in people from all walks of life, and so.
Well, I feel like Christians have a little bit of a stigma right now of themselves. Like they kind of see themselves as this Christian who, well, I can't have that in my home because it would taint my home and what I'm about.
Yeah.
And to some degree, I don't have kids, but to some degree that, I mean, I understand that. Like in your situation, if you're inviting a bunch of people that wouldn't agree with you on certain things, you know, your kids are watching everything. So, but that's also to say, like, I still feel like I said earlier, I want people to know that door is open no matter what you believe, no matter where you stand, what you believe, what you identify as, whatever. Like, you can always come to Isaac's and have a decent meal. You might hear about Jesus. You probably will. But, and like, those discussions all happen in their own little groups. Yeah. Like, I noticed that. Like, people walking around looking at different things.
And then putting all that aside, another cool thing is like, food's it brings people together, but it also like divides people because it's like, I'm not gonna eat that.
Yeah.
But you cook some funky stuff, dude. Like we had, just for example, there was some squid. We had duck. So I've never had duck before until before that party.
Nice.
And lamb chops, or not lamb. What were they? Rack of lamb. Yep. And I've had some lamb here and there, but not like that. And what it does is you get everyone in a room together. And peer pressure kind of works in a good way because people are like, well, they're trying and I got to at least try it.
Yep.
And then they're eating and they're like, oh, that's actually kind of good.
I actually think of your wife in that aspect because I feel like there's a couple of things she wouldn't have tried.
Oh, there's a lot she probably wouldn't have just tried if like we were at a restaurant. But the fact that like everybody's there, and she wasn't a super big fan of everything. But you know the crazy thing that she liked probably the most? The duck.
The duck?
The duck. Now, the duck liver, different story.
Foie gras.
Yeah. I still don't know how to say it right. It sounds like raw frog to me, but
we can cook that too.
And that was one of those things where I like ate it and I was like, oh, this is weird. This doesn't seem right. I probably shouldn't be eating this. And then like you brought me another piece and I ate it. I was like, and then after it was done, I was like, I kind of want more. And then I ended up even having quite a few pieces of it. So no, it was cool. And I wanted to brag on you because I don't know a lot of people that would give up their special day, especially the 1 year. That's a big deal. And I know you guys did get time to spend time together. And you guys, like us, if you guys get time to travel, you just go travel and you do it. So that it was just cool. I just, as a friend, I appreciate it. And I think it's a really cool thing that you did. And I think it's a special thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's something I love to do. I'm going to keep doing it. If there's any listeners out there that want to come to one, let me know. We might have to get a donation bank if we're going to feed everybody.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just love people, love God, serve some decent food. Doesn't even have to be great food.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. People's doors are opened. People's hearts, people's minds open up in those situations. So, and my brother-in-law, when he says the art of Christian hospitality, like I really believe that is lost just because it's like there's a little bit of that stigma on Christianity. It's like, well, this is my home. This is my Zen area. This is where I am going to reign supreme, and I don't want any outside or differing opinions to come in here. And that's not just Christians. That's just like your home in general. This is my home. You know, drive the flag into the front yard. This is the Levins.
Yeah.
And I feel like we kind of need to shy away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm bad at it sometimes too. Like, people are like, so how are your neighbors? And I'm like, I just moved here. I really don't know them. But there's been plenty of opportunity for me to be like, hey, I'm Isaac. How you doing? Do you want to come eat this food?
Yeah.
But I haven't done that yet, you
know. A guy that used to lead a life group that I was a part of, that dude went out of his way to go like talk to his neighbors and do stuff with his neighbors. And I'm like, man, I commend you for that because I'm horrible with that. Like, it gets awkward. Like, it's like, well, then if I get to know them, like, they're going to be like,
they're going to want
all
to
up
come
in
over.
our business and stuff. And and so it's like it's a weird aspect. Like, it's a bad thing to do as a Christian, but you know, we need to be more open to that. Mm-hmm. But you know, it was a super cool thing. Just wanted to kind of share that with everybody. But let's take one more quick break, and then we will dive into this next portion of this.
Sweet.
All right. So, this next portion, we started to get into this argument. We were discussing what we were going to talk about today. We kind of wanted to make a fun episode, and then we got onto
a turn.
Yeah. Started talking a more serious topic, and we found out we don't agree with this, I think. So, it's no breaking news to anybody that like right now it's a really tough time for our country. Putting COVID aside, putting political stuff aside, we've got some horrendous stuff happening over in Afghanistan. New Orleans just got slammed again by another gigantic hurricane, which is just crazy. And even that it happened on the 16th anniversary of Katrina, that to me just is mind-boggling. But there's a lot of stuff going on, and so we started talking about specifically what's going on in Afghanistan. Now, we're not going to dive too deep, and I don't know, we might dive into the politics of it.
We'll just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. And the topic is going over and bringing people back over. So why don't you, because you asked me a question about if I had seen the latest of kind of the news over there, and I had not yet. And
okay.
So,
well, I just, just scrolling through the news, I had noticed that the last official U.S. military plane has left the airport in Kabul.
Yeah.
And it left many Americans on the ground.
Still over there.
And they're also flying more Afghanistan citizens over so that they can escape whatever that conflict is over there. The Taliban taking rule. I was just kind of struck with the loyalty that people have to this country, our country, America, the US of A. And sometimes I'm like, yeah. And other times I'm like, that is, I think it's a misprioritized.
Specify, what do you mean there? America, America first, America this.
Yeah, America first. And the reason that it rang pretty loud, this bell rang in my head, is because all these people are posting on Facebook, Christians and non-Christians, and they're like, I can't believe they're bringing people from Afghanistan over here before they're bringing our American citizens home.
Yeah.
And while I get the sentiment, bring the Americans home first. They're ours. They belong to us, our people. I don't understand the allegiance to a country that much as a Christian. I don't. I'm like, that's just a plane full of survivors. American or Afghanistan or whatever it is.
So,
Muslim, Christian, these people are flying people out of a terrible situation and bringing over here so they can better themselves.
So you don't think that as Americans making this choice, like a strategic military whatever decision,
okay,
you don't think that the highest importance of them should be to get our people out first? And when I say our people, I'm meaning American citizens.
I guess not. No, call me unpatriotic. Everyone's in the crap over there. It's not just the Americans.
But you don't
think it's all the civilians trying to climb on planes to get out of their situation because it's so bad. So then people are when we saw the people jumping from the plane that were stuck on it because they're obviously on the outside, people are like, it's so stupid. What did they think was going to happen when they reached 20,000 feet? It's a plane. Well, maybe taking that option is a better option than just knowing they're going to be slaughtered on the ground by their own people.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do think there's a desperation there because
I guess I don't have an allegiance to being American so much that I would be like, nope, Americans first. Americans first. I know it's hell over here for you people, but Americans first. I would never do that. And if they're going to yell at these guys that are driving the plane, well, why didn't you get the Americans? That'd be my argument. I'd be like, you have no idea the panic we're seeing in these people's eyes. And I don't personally, but I wouldn't be like, Americans first. I don't understand, especially biblically, because I know that's what you're going to dive into, but I'm going to finish the statement before you say anything. I don't understand biblically from my reading, and I may be wrong, and I've done a lot of reading in the Bible, and I obviously need to do more, but I do not understand where I, as a Christian, have to have such an allegiance to my country of origin that I sweep people under the rug because I'm considering my people first. Just my people. Just Americans. If we did that here in any sort of a class system color-wise, white, black, brown, blue, green, orange, it would be considered racist.
Yes, but it's not that.
Let me pause. Do you want to turn?
I do.
I don't want to give you a turn. I don't care. This is my side and it's right. I'm just kidding.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm torn because to me it's a very fine line. All these things are stupid things or fine lines that we have to follow. I do agree, like Christian morality, it should just be we should be helping whoever. Shouldn't matter country, origin, anything like that. I get that sentiment, but this is like when the whole thing that comes to voting. Like, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, I don't necessarily agree with Trump, but I voted for Trump. I have my reasonings for it. I think, and I've debated my family on this, and this is really hard to like really clarify for someone. I do try to vote based off like my heart and where I stand as a Christian first.
Your heart will deceive you.
But then I also understand that like politics it's a game, it's a chess match. So like with this, I don't think that because here's the thing. Yes, our government was founded on Christian beliefs. This is something I also debate my family and my home church on a lot. And this gets onto the topic of Christian.
I wouldn't even say Christian beliefs. I would say more like Christian ideals.
Well, it falls in line with this Christian nationalism thing. And family, my brothers, my dad, I love you guys. Well, we can have this debate when I'm home next weekend hunting. This country, yes, was founded on Christian morals. The problem is that our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence is not gospel.
No.
It might be gospel inspired. It might have been.
I wouldn't even say that.
I don't know, because I do think if you have a bunch of Christian men coming together and trying to establish something that runs on a morality that's based on the Bible, I think that's a great thing.
True.
But there's caveats to that, because when you open up something for full freedom like that, you have to deal with the backlash of freedom.
Well, and I
the
think
problem. No, hold on. Let me talk. You had your thing.
Okay.
So
I'll just be quiet.
So if you're, I love that this country was founded on Christian morals, and I think that yes, we as a country need to repent and come back to Christ. I think we need that as a country, just as a whole. The whole world does, especially our country. But here's the problem.
Yes. I don't think
freedom.
They need redemption. They need Jesus.
Yes.
I don't think they need like this. I don't know, like, because I think you're confusing a little bit of government and what being a Christian means, because then it's like,
because this is not a Christian operation that's happening. These decisions are not being done by Christian organizations and people with Christian thoughts in mind. That's the problem. Even though our government is here and our land, our country, who we are as a country is here because of these Christian men that put this stuff together, does not mean that the people in charge making all these decisions are making Christian choices. So I understand from a country's aspect, from the leader of a country, I understand the aspect of, yes, we protect our people first. It's like if you are in a building and the building catches on fire, most often, most people, Christian or not, are going to find their family members first. So when I was employed at the church that I was with, we did extensive training. Our security team did extensive training on how to handle like a
shooter,
like a shooter, and it wasn't just a shooter. It was like, well, what happens if a tornado blasts us while we're in church or whatever? And we've got all these people. We had a huge church. At times we could have up to 400 people in that building. And the biggest thing was trying to make sure that families did not just flock to the nurseries to grab their kids first. Like, we had plans in effect to get kids out of the building. That does not result in parents having to get there first. And so, because our initial reaction is, I have to protect, like, it's fight or flight.
I got to
protect me and my own. And so that mentality is a very widespread mentality. Most people are going to want to protect their loved ones first. So I completely understand why people are getting bent out of shape when their husbands, wives, their other American citizens are over there still, and there are people from the country that are getting a spot on that plane prior to them. Because in my mind, and there's some cruel, it's a sinful world. It's a dark world we live in. And this might sound kind of cruel, but you have to be realistic at the same time. Yes, some of those people are going to face really hard, troubling times as the Taliban and those guys move through, because if they find any type of connection if you're a family that had anything to do with America, or if you've Christianity, or if you've left Islam in any way, they're going through, like, you can go read the stories. They're slaughtering people for that type of stuff. But in my mind, also, an American is going to stick out more like a sore thumb than another Afghan family.
Okay.
And so I do think that Americans, because of course, a lot of that, there's a ton of just hate for America there anyway. Not saying that that's just a broad spectrum belief across the whole country. I'm not that shallow and dumb to think that. But the Taliban obviously does not like America. So what do you think is going to happen to the Americans first? So that's where I differ from you. But I get where you're coming from.
I mean, like, stuff that's going to happen to the Americans first. I feel like that's a misstatement, because it's already happening to the people that live there.
But it's happening to everybody.
But it's not. Like, those people are being persecuted because they're Christian, not because they're American. And the Americans are all within the embassy and the airport. So it's like they're not living on the streets I'm
not confident of that.
Trying to have their, just to practice their religion freely. Like, I just feel like we prioritized in a wrong way. It's like if we want to get these people out, and then granted, you run into all sorts of immigration and refugee problems as soon as they land over here on the ground. And I'm not saying immigration and refugee problems from our perspective. I'm saying that both sides are going to have a lot to go through.
Yeah.
But they're literally willing to try to hang on a plane for an entire cross-ocean plane ride just to make sure that it's better.
I don't think that was
rather than stay in their country and die. And Americans are like, did we get the Americans out? Did we get the Americans out? Americans aren't climbing on planes over here to try to get out, are they? No, people are climbing on planes to get here. So it's like, well, let's make sure ours are good first. I don't even live my life that way. Like, make sure somebody else's plate is full and that they have enough to eat before you even check your own, before you even look at your own.
And that's great.
I think that is the same thing here. If it's going to be about the sanctity of human life, these people are image bearers just like us.
Yes. Okay. From our standpoint, from a Christian.
So where do I have to have an obligation to my country I would want to do that?
No, I'm not saying you do. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the best route. Like I said before, I don't think it's the best route. You're right. It's not a route that should be an option. You view, as I do, human life as a precious, special thing.
Yes.
That's why we fight for the end of abortion and all of that. The difference here, once again, is people that are in charge of this, and the vast majority of the country is not a people first mentality. It's a me first mentality. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not sitting here trying to condone it, but that's where that sentiment comes from.
Okay.
And I will say this.
Well, that sentiment is based wrongly. Like,
I agree with you, but that's why we're here talking about it. Because
I just feel like you're defending. I feel like you're trying to defend America, and why we're doing these things.
No. Well, I'm defending Americans for making a decision for America.
No, you're not America. You're defending Americans for making decisions to protect other Americans over other people that aren't a part of this country. That has nothing to do with our country. That has everything to do with our allegiance to the country.
Yes,
that sounds backwards.
Because it goes back, in my opinion, to that family first thing.
But that's not...
Sorry, there's a fly.
The family first. So, like, all right, so you have no family in this burning building. Are you going to run in and be like, Americans first, then French people, then English, and then we'll put the Afghans at the back? Because that's what this is. That's what you're saying. If you're going to use the burning building imagery, then it's like, all right, so you got your family out. Your family's out of the burning building. Your family's out of the shooter that's in the church situation. Who are you going back in for? Everybody? Or are you going to pick and choose people based on how they have impacted your life?
All right. I'll admit you've got me there.
Because you should just save people. You should just go in and do the right thing, not with circumstances and not with contingencies attached to it. No, you're going in to save people because you're supposed to save people because it's the right thing to do.
I get that, and I'm torn.
So I don't have an allegiance in me that says I got to save the Americans first. So then when people get on Facebook and say things like, it is a travesty that we haven't pulled our own people out and we're flying hundreds of Afghanis over here and putting them on the ground, I'm like, you just sound stupid and mean. You sound mean. You sound cruel. I'm going to save these people before I save these people, even though they're all image bearers of God. They're all deserving of redemption, and they all deserve somewhat of a quality of life.
So let me ask you this.
Better or worse than mine.
Let me ask you this. Why... Where who's the person? Are we just sucking people in first come first serve? Like, why is there not what's the system in place that Americans are getting left behind? Where does that system lead in? And that's where I don't know enough about the situation.
I feel like the system is gone, and right now it's panic. I feel like
it probably
panic is more set. Otherwise, we wouldn't see people climbing onto planes to try to fly over here without,
Which my thing in that, I don't think anyone logically thought that they could climb on the plane and ride it over. I think most people realize the dark part of that, I think they were willing to try whatever they could maybe to get inside the plane. But at that point, I think it's more of it would be better to leave the world in that way than it would be, like you said, to get slaughtered or murdered or however that goes.
And the fact that they have to deal with that choice is awful. And I mean, and it's sad because I mean, you look at the planes, you look at the insides of those planes, and they're stacked wall to wall with as many people as they can get in there to make sure that they can get them home safe.
Yeah.
And
it's tough, man. Well, here would be my problem with this today.
Okay.
Why are we stopping the planes when there's still Americans over there?
Okay, that's a great point.
Because if we've got our people in there, we should be getting our people.
Well, right now, we can't send anybody back. That was the last one on the ground. So now they have full control of the airport.
Well, and
So we no longer have the leverage or the leeway to do those things in that country. So like we can't land there now.
Yeah.
Unless it's something special.
Well,
and those parties, and when I say those parties, I mean the Taliban and our government have talked enough that someone can land there.
Well, and I which that in itself just scares me. But, and I'll admit, just for everybody listening, that I am paying attention to this situation. I am not I don't know the super fine details of how this has all been panning out. I haven't looked into it for the last couple of days. I don't know, man. It's like with a lot of things when it comes to Christianity and morality, there's a fine line we walk, and it just becomes tough.
Well, and it's just like you're going to face the judgment of God, but that doesn't free you from the judgment of man. It's kind of the same thing. Like you're not going to be free of all these rules and regulations that man has already struck down. You see what I'm saying? So, like, we're completely outside of those boxes. We're not sitting anywhere trying to, endorse legislation that'll get that stuff changed. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not following. Sorry.
Okay.
I got the first portion of what you're saying, but not the.
Well, like that's above our pay grade on how all that stuff is worked out.
Oh yeah, obviously.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
obviously, but I also don't
exist outside of that.
I think for a lot of people looking, I see why. I'll finish this off is I see why Americans could be upset that our American government isn't focused on Americans first.
But to me, a life saved is a life saved. So why are we prioritizing an American life? Okay, now set aside government. Set aside the government having to make that decision, because you're right, that's above our head, and it's a decision that we wouldn't be able to understand or make because there's a lot of weight that comes with that. But I kind of forgot where I was going with that.
I'm upset because the buildup was so good.
Can you pause it real quick? Can we take a quick break?
We'll take a quick break so Isaac can regroup his thoughts here.
So what I was saying was we're all equal in God's eyes. We're all image bearers. I mean, the playing field is level for everybody. So,
and you're saying you don't know why our country of origin.
Why do I have to have an obligation to prioritize Americans over other people? Especially when Americans are like, oh, we're just this big melting pot. It's so great to be here. Everybody's welcome. And then it's like, why aren't we pulling Americans out first? Like, what? Why?
So
why is that? Why is that a thing?
So this just popped in. This was not part of what we just talked about.
Okay,
but
hit me with it.
Are you then? Would you take the stance of being open for an open border then?
For an open border.
Open the border. Let anyone come in. Why are we building a wall?
No, I don't think I would.
But how? So how is that different?
You're right. That's an argument of prioritizing. Sometimes I feel like the border issues are in place to make sure like our economy doesn't crumble in on itself.
Because we're focused on our American people's economy.
Yeah, but also
because you don't want your 401k to drop.
But that's not the American people's economy. That's the people's economy. Because now we're living in a country that is a melting pot where pretty soon white people aren't going to be the majority. We're living in a state where some of the cities are the first cities where minorities are now the majority.
I get that. I'm not against that by any means.
Okay.
But regardless, if you're coming to this country to live here, people are coming for the American lifestyle.
You're right. And do you think Mexicans crossing the border are like, they ought to get those Americans out first before they get the Afghanis out? American citizens that are of a different culture. I don't know. I
can't speak for someone who came out from outside the country into this country. But if you're coming to this country to be a part of this country, then yeah, you were kind of our adopting.
So you think that by me saying that I don't support borders, I'm kind of folding in back on myself, or saying that I do support the borders, I'm folding in back on myself
there's
because
some contradictory. To me, there's some contradiction there. And I'm not saying that you're like...
Because if they want to be American, they're just trying to have a better quality of life as opposed to what they had. I mean, yeah, that's true, but like...
Yes. But if that's the case, okay, so why are we not breaking the doors down into China and saving people under persecution in China? Why? It's because they're not our American people. I'm not saying that this is how America should operate.
Okay.
Because, once again, it's that fine line of your country and your nation and your politics mixed in with your Christian morality and what we're called to do as Christians. Yes, as Christians, we are supposed to help the meek. We're supposed to help the poor in spirit. Like, we're supposed to help the lesser of these. Like, Jesus is very clear about that. Like, I'm all for that. We don't always do a great job of that, but I'm all for that. But the reality is that we live in a country with a system, and not everybody believes everything that we do, and not everybody shares the same moralities that we do. So all I'm saying is I don't think you can sit here and condemn Americans for wanting to protect Americans.
You're right. I think that
I agree with your mindset.
I think there could be a little more compassion and love in that language. It's
because what should be happening...
I don't want to condemn Americans for wanting to support and help other Americans.
And I think this is happening. Once again, sorry, I apologize putting it out there. I'm not super well rehearsed on where all these people are going. But I think each country should be focused on getting their people protected, because we don't know why they're over there in the first place. But we should be getting...
I don't even have that thought.
Then why can we not why can England and Russia and America and Canada and all these places, why can France, all these places, these peaceful countries that are working together, and the UN, all that stuff, why can we not go in a joint effort and try to get these people out and then get them spread out and get them...
I would say that's probably a monetary thing, and it's not mutually beneficial for all of those countries.
Okay, but so whatever. If it's not a monetary thing or whatever, it doesn't matter to me whether your choice for doing it is because of patriotism or because if it's a monetary thing. It shouldn't matter. Like, we should be coming together and getting...
But even then, like, as a Christian in this nation, you're blending Americanism with Christianity. Because you're like all those things like patriotism and pride of home and wanting to help other Americans. Like, literally the one thing you haven't said is there is no love and compassion. Love and compassion as an American And as a Christian, should trump any of that other patriotic allegiance to my country BS.
No, I have. I've talked about
so
morality.
So if we're concerned about people, I'm not concerned about Americans. I'm concerned about winning people for Christ. I don't care what race you are, what religion you are, what country you're coming from. So when those people are landing on the ground, I'm not like, oh, thank God you're an American. You're here. No, I'm like, it's probably tough over there. Would you like a bottle of water? I don't care what religion you are.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay, so now I want to ask, where biblically do I have to have an allegiance to my home country?
You don't have to have an allegiance to your home country.
Okay, so then I have to have an allegiance to Jesus and what he says and what he teaches. And to me, prioritizing Americans over Afghanis isn't a language of love or redemption or compassion at all. That is selfish. That is putting you and yours first above anybody.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Anybody who loves their family more than me is not even worthy of the kingdom.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay.
I'm not saying I don't love those people. Well, I'm just defending.
All I'm hearing is you're defending America.
I'm defending Americans wanting Americans out first. And
that's wrong. You're defending them having a priority and an obligation to others just because they're American.
There's a high
not even that they know their life.
No, because these decisions are being made by non-Christians.
We don't know that. We don't know that they're being made by non-Christians.
There's a massive portion of this country that loves our country that has no care in the world about a relationship with Christ.
None whatsoever.
Are you telling me that the people in charge right now in our country are doing everything,
I'm telling you that in confidence, you cannot say that you know that those people aren't
I'm not,
Christian.
okay, I don't know. There's a lot of evidence that would show that they are not Christian. What I'm saying is that these are
you're flirting with disaster and judgment there.
No, because
those people don't seem Christian.
No. It's not whether they seem Christian. What I'm saying is there's a lot of people in this country that are not Christian.
True.
That's its own thing.
I mean,
I
that's
wish it
proven
wasn't that
every
way.
Sunday when it's like, well, 83% of the
Exactly.
nation identifies as Christian, but only 20% shows up to church.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, though, is that you have a group of people. We are judging them based off of Christian morality. And that's where you're standing from. Mm-hmm. You're taking a Christian moral viewpoint, which I agree with.
Okay.
My point that I'm making is you can't condemn people that aren't following Christ for not making a Christ-centered decision when they're going. It's like what we talked about.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
For the non-Christian,
you can't expect them to play the game if you don't give them the manual.
Exactly. So that's where I'm not necessarily defending their actions, but what I'm saying is I completely understand their mindset behind their decisions.
Okay, so what about the Christian? What about the Christian who says...
Totally different ballgame.
Okay, because that's what got me on this, was I saw all the Facebook posts of people that I look up to and that are Christians that are like, I can't believe we're pulling these people out before we even worry about our Americans that are still in the grave. And I'm like, that is an obligation to America and not an obligation to God and image bearers and quality human life and redemption. Like, you as Christians should not be saying anything like that because your allegiance is Christian. It's to Christ. It's to God. It is not to any one certain people. It's not to any one walk of life. So, all right, I feel like we were arguing against each other for no reason because I agree. Like, how do we expect them to play the game if they don't know the rules?
I'll tell you, but it does. I don't know what it is in me. Maybe this is something I need to focus on. There is something in me that gets upset when I find out that Americans are being left behind because I do have a love for this country and a love for my people too.
Well, and that's natural.
It doesn't mean that I hate the Afghani people.
No, but it doesn't mean that you should prioritize Americans over the Afghani people, right?
Probably.
Right?
Probably.
No, not probably. That's not a probably. We are all equal. We're all in the same playing field in the eyes of God. We were all falling short. So no, I agree with you that there's something in me that gets stirred up. Like, oh, America has been slighted. And then I'm like, why am I mad about this? Why am I even mad that America was slighted?
I think it's because we have dark thinkings. And one of the things that I think of is that that's just one more chance for a poser someone who means harm and death and destruction to other people, regardless of country or religion. I do think that every time you open that door, you open the door for those people to slip in and to slip in through the cracks. Yep. Someone who might be completely radicalized for Islam or whatever, that might be using that as an opportunity to get through the doors of this country. Because as much as I want to trust that we will do that vetting system well, and that we will go through a checks and balances. There's always going to be cracks
that people fall
through. There's always going to be cracks. And so I think that's where, because it does become a safety issue too. And that's the same thing with open borders for me. It's like, I want to help people that are in a bad place, but you also want to protect the people that are already here.
True.
Like it's why you lock your doors at night, is because you don't want someone coming in and hurting your family and destroying your own. So I think that's where a lot of my motivation comes from, because I am worried, because we've seen what happens when someone with a radical mindset,
when the Taliban is in charge.
Well, whether it's Islam or whether it's some crazy guy who just wants to shoot up a school, whatever it is, ultimately it's sin. Mm-hmm. When sin fully takes over and mass destruction happens through a bombing, mm-hmm. through a school shooting, through whatever it might be, when that stuff happens, we want to protect ourselves from that. So we become guarded.
And you want people in your corner. So it's natural to want to support the people that you feel like you're in your corner, because as an American, sometimes you feel like you got Americans in your corner.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can see how this flies drive me crazy.
We need destruction on this one.
I can see how Americans would feel like they have an obligation to Americans through that, and not just through, like, well, I just support America because I like America and white bread and fried chicken.
Did we just have a breakthrough? We both kind of agree for the most part, but also understand where each other is making their point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you please quit clicking your pen? That is kind of what this is about.
Yeah.
Because like this weekend, it's funny how we can compare all of this to a dinner that you hosted with a bunch of friends, because I actually had that very conversation with someone in there. They made a comment that basically making it a proclamation that they stand for something that is very opposite of what I stand for. And I just looked at him and I smiled and I said, I love that. I love that me and you can come in here, have a conversation, have different points of views, and we'll walk away here ready to hang out again sometime.
Yes.
Because that is what Christians do really badly. We want to bubble ourselves in, close the doors, only talk to other Christians, and we don't want to branch out and have those conversations. And not just to have conversations, it's okay if you have friends that aren't Christian.
Mm-hmm. Well, know how to defend your faith.
Yeah.
I really found out that leaving high school, like, Christians really don't know how to defend their faith. A lot of Christians don't know how to defend their faith because they're always in that Christian bubble. They're never challenged enough to have to defend their faith.
And then we defend it badly when you get into those moments.
And then it's just like, well, this is just what I grew up in. It's like, so you don't even know why you believe what you believe. You just believe it because everybody else has believed it.
And then before you know it, you're holding a sign that says, like, God hates fags or something like that. Like, and that's where this goes a dark path, and we need to do better. So
that's when you need to be in the Bible, and instead you're just guilty by association.
Hit us with some scripture, brother, because
we
as much as we can have this, like let's show where we need to root ourselves in.
Okay. I kind of just picked the most simple thing. 1 Corinthians 13.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the love bears all things, love is patient, you know, love never ends. All that stuff. People have heard a lot of verses out of 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah.
The subnote of the chapter is called the way of love. In the very beginning, 13 verse 1 is, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I have not love, am I a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal? And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but I still do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but I do not have love, I gain nothing.
Yep.
And that's when you roll into the love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy or boast, it is not arrogant or rude, it does not insist on its own way, and it is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends.
So let me tack on top of that, because you're gonna get a if you've seen the video we're gonna speaking of that video, I want to do that often, not super often, like not going to be a weekly thing, but I think when God places something on our hearts, he places it on our hearts for a reason. And we do get this avenue to have these discussions through the podcast, which is awesome. But at the same time, we sometimes we're not always able to talk about those things. And so like you might be in a moment, like for me, it was at church this week, where God really placed something on my heart and I just felt like I needed to share it. And so this, you'll get a little bit of repeat from that. But Galatians 5 kind of piggybacks off that, and also in Colossians as well. But in Galatians 5, Paul says, "For you are called to freedom, brothers. Do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh or the sinful desire, but through love serve one another. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, watch out that you are not consumed by one another." If we cannot go, and yes, we got heated with each other. It's okay. We love each other. We're not going to.
I still love you.
Yes. We're not sitting here, this isn't the end of our friendship because we had an argument.
We're not going to throw hands when this is over. We might, but it would be for fun. Moving on.
Even though I would win. But we have to approach each other and others outside our faith with love. Mm-hmm. If you are spouting some political bullcrap, or if you're combating somebody over a mask, one way or another, how in the world are you going to reach people? If I'm screaming at you, if anyone's screaming at you, when that Karen, sorry for anybody who's listening whose name's Karen who doesn't act like this, but when that Karen is sitting in the Starbucks line screaming at somebody because they got her order wrong, does anybody look at that situation and go, "Oh yeah, we really messed up there. Like, let me do everything No, you get angry. We can't sit here and just spout off stuff and yell at each other and expect the other side to just say, "Oh, you know what? You're right. You yelled
progress
at me
to be made."
And that really changed my point of view because you yelled at me.
Yep.
No.
Thank you for demeaning me. I'm much
smarter. You
kill
them with kindness. You do it through love. Like, that's the only way that works. And this is.
Do you ever ask yourself, like, you're having an argument or a talk or whatever with a person who's completely differing belief than you, and it's just like, all right, how is this person going to know Jesus? Does it ever hit you like that? Because my responses aren't based in my faith. So then it's like, all right, take a step back. What would Jesus do? Because this person needs Jesus. And then it's like, but I don't want them to know Jesus. But that's my human interaction taking over instead of having grace and all the things you talked about.
No, what I tend to do, my problem is more focused on the negative that someone's doing and trying to be more focused on the positive that I can do.
Okay.
And so another big part of that is the fruit of the Spirit. Mm-hmm. And that kind of comes with what you were saying. Like I said, it all piggybacks because you guys have heard me talking a lot in Galatians 5, talking about this life by the Spirit versus life, going towards your sin nature or the flesh. And Paul follows that part of this up with by saying in verse 22 of Galatians 5, saying, "But the fruit of the Spirit," and this is what I've really been trying to focus on, like God slammed me with this. And I want to write these notes across, all over my house so I can remember that the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I think we as Christians it's like, oh, those are really churchy things, and we've got paintings of it in our house. When was the last time you actually looked at each and every single one of those words and applied it to your life to see how are you doing any of that? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty good at the loving thing. I'm pretty good with patience and peace. Kindness is not always a great one. Gentleness is not always a great one for me. I struggle with self-control in a lot of things.
Let me judge you from the outside looking in. I think you're good at love. You're good. I'm just kidding.
And here's the most important part. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, or envying one another. Who cares what your view is?
Well, and like, there's so many verses in the Bible that could apply to that very specific thing. Like I'm thinking of right now, I'm thinking of tame your tongue. Like tame your tongue. Don't be spitting filth out. Be quicker to listen than you are to talk.
Yeah.
You know, like especially in this situation. Like so, to just take a step back from that whole situation. And when you as a Christian are making a post about how you think we should pick up Americans before we pick up Afghani citizens and bring them over here, like, is that statement in love? Is it? It might be if you really have a love for Americans, or like you said, there is someone in your family that is one of those American citizens that is on the ground. But at the same time, couldn't you say like, oh man, it's really bad that we have Americans on the ground, that it's still a travesty. Also, it's really bad for those citizens. I hope they get out safe because they're dealing with things that us Americans don't even know how to comprehend.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't it have been better to just say that instead of being like, I can't believe they're bringing over those people instead of Americans?
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
it's all about how you carry yourself and how you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Like we have to be, that's what got me off of social media in the first place. I am now back because I kind of have to be, but I am making an active decision to not get into that.
I can remember the first time I had like any kind of a political argument with someone on Facebook, and I still know the woman and her point of view and everything, and I just argued with her in the comments, which was stupid, and I've literally never done that again because I'm like, you just look dumb. You know, you're not saying anything in love. You're saying it because that's how you feel, and like, you know, like like when you said it comes from your heart. Sometimes I laugh when people are like, "That's really from the heart," and I laugh because biblically, it's like your heart will deceive you.
Yeah,
your heart will lead you
out
astray.
of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah, so it's like,
yeah. So it's tough, man. It's tough, and I can expect there might be some people mad after hearing this today, but it's like what we talked about, man. God's word, it's the sword of the Spirit, man.
Oh yeah, and it cuts deep.
It cuts deep, and conviction, even though it sucks to feel convicted on something, conviction ultimately is a good thing, because conviction means that God's placing something in our heart that you need to work on.
Exactly, and God is only convicting and rebuking those that He loves. You know, like a good father. What? He loves everybody.
He loves everyone.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, gotcha.
So when you're feeling that, yeah, you're obviously loved.
I got you. That means,
don't roll your eyes at me.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that. No, I agree with it. Yes, He loves everyone. So if should be a reminder that God
that when you're
loves,
feeling those things, that's normal.
It's like when you spank your kid, I'm doing this because I love you. And they're like, what?
Exactly. We talked about that earlier. Like when I tell you you're acting a fool and, you know, stepping outside your marriage or whatever you're doing, I'm doing that because I'm your friend and I want to see you do better and have a better life, not because I'm like, you're a sinner.
Let's clarify that is a hypothetical thing.
Ethan is loyal to his wife.
I was going to say.
And nothing bad is happening there.
Okay. Because
still happily married.
People are going to hear that and be like,
almost 10 years.
What happened?
Oh, yeah.
Almost 10 years. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, well, that's cool, man.
I'm glad we talked about this. Even though I wouldn't have brought it up as a topic of discussion today on the stuff we were talking about earlier for doing, you know, for the podcast, but it's been heavy on my heart since I saw the videos of those people flying off.
It's horrible.
And then I see other people living here in a privileged land that are like, why aren't we bringing Americans over first? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Or fighting over a lot more stupid stuff.
These people are literally getting their hands chopped off in the streets and stuff like that. Yeah. And you're like, why aren't we bringing the Americans home first?
Yeah.
I was convicted. I mean, that's exactly what it was. I was riding on me. I was like, wow, I don't think we should prioritize it just because I'm an American.
Next time we'll whip a camera out and we'll do our little one-on-one discussions. We'll come up with a clever name for that or something. But I think those are good moments. So let's do this. I'm going to wing this. We'll kind of wrap that up there. But we do, as always, when we want to finish on our on the throne moment, just a reminder that no matter what is happening, there's a lot of crap happening, guys. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat that.
The world is a crappy place.
It's a crappy place, man. Sin is a horrible thing, and it's dark.
But there is a lot of good.
You might be struggling with that. And so as we kind of wrapped up and put this into the Word, we just want to remind you that tomorrow the sun will rise and God will still be sitting on the throne.
Yep.
So this is real simple. Colossians 3:16, not John 3:16, although another good one. Colossians 3:16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Your answers for all of this stuff, as we're trying to point out to you, and Lord knows we need help him. We need help with it too. But it comes, if you're looking on YouTube, it comes through this right here, the Bible. God's word is the only way that you truly find answers. God can speak to you in moments, but you better do your homework and back it up scripturally too. Because a lot of times we can confuse our own wants and whatever for
and you can call it
what God wants.
I'm guilty of this in my own life. You can call it faith and not be in the Word, and I'm like, you're literally playing the game without reading the instruction manual. Then, so it's like, come on,
look it up, back it up scripturally. And the crazy thing is God puts that you open your Bible right to it. I'm not saying just go home and open your Bible and that's what God's saying to you that day. I mean, it could happen that way, but God speaks to you through his word. If you feel it in your heart, find it in the word, because as it said, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly.
I like that.
Well, cool, man. It's just, I think those are conversations we've got to have.
Yep.
Let's be focused on that as we leave here today. What can you be doing? What fruit of the Spirit could you be showing? How can you better show love? And
if you're nervous about doing that in person, pray about it.
Pray about it. Here's the first step.
You want to really make an impact? Shut your mouth, get in your closet, get on your knees, and pray for your enemies.
First step, shut your mouth.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm saying this out of love, brothers and sisters. Shut your mouth. Like, the first thing you can do is stop spouting off the anger and the malice and the slander. Quit talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then focus on what you need to be saying or what you should be saying or what you shouldn't be saying, and then show love.
Yep.
So we could start a whole nother podcast right there, but we will spare you guys the extra time with us. So
that's right.
All right, let's close this up, brother. I can close this in prayer. Do you want to close this?
Me, you. I can pray.
All right, go for it.
All right. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this country where we can exist peacefully and live and praise you freely. And we just ask that for all those other countries that have issues with that you give those people a peace of mind. Just put your hand on them right now and give them a comfort and a contentment, and let them know that you are there to get them to the other side. And I ask that you just give all the people that aren't in those situations, that are from the outside looking in, I ask that you give them the words to say and the time to say it, and that's us included, Ethan and I. Just let the love that you want us to pour out be shared in ways that we know your love and your promises are being conveyed, and that we're not in the way of any of that. So, and before I get any more wordy, I just, we thank you for everything, and we thank you for the opportunity to have these discussions, and we just hope that people see your love and your hope shine through this, Lord. And it's in your amazing and wonderful and sacrificial name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We thank you guys, as always, for tuning in and listening this week, and we will see you again next week.
Wow! Come on, can you move along? I said, baby, I know you're on a roll. Sweet honey, this take it real slow.